Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dears. Today we will be discussing one of the important topics in the field of pragmatics. Pragmatics studies the invisible meaning or the speaker meaning or the intended meaning. We will be discussing today what is politeness generally and specifically what is linguistic politeness. So let's start with our lecture. This is very important to know that any linguistic interaction, any interaction where language is used is necessarily a social interaction because our social interaction when we interact with each other socially, we use language, linguistic expressions. Now the interpretation of what is uttered usually goes beyond what was intended to express, and this is very important to know that sometimes we say one thing but our sentences and our meanings are interpreted quite differently by the listeners and includes evaluation in terms of politeness. Therefore, one can clearly observe that much more is communicated than is said during a socio-linguistic interaction. When you are interacting with someone, he she feels, knows how much you are polite, what are you expressing and how you are expressing it, whether you are taking care of his self-image. It has been defined and explained by these two, Brown and Levinson, that it is common to all culture to be polite with other social beings while interacting in the society. Generally, being a polite, it means showing good manners and considerations for other people, open the door for a lady, give your seat to an elderly person. It is your actions that show you are polite or not in the society. But what is linguistic politeness? The way people choose to speak and how the hearers react to their speech. Now, the way people select their vocabulary, expressions, their language, and how people are reacting to their language use, it is linguistic politeness. Brown and Levinson explain that in order to enter into social relationship, all people must acknowledge the face of other people. Now, what is face? Face is a technical term. It means the public self-image, the persona we carry with ourselves in the society. It refers to that emotional and social sense of self that everyone has and expects everyone else to recognize their self-image or their face. It is our social representation of our personality. So now being polite is taking care of other people's face, their self-image. Politeness in an interaction can be defined as the means implied to show awareness of another person's face or self-image. In this sense, politeness can be accomplished in situations of social distance or closeness. Showing awareness of a person's face when that other seems socially distant is often described in terms of respect, or difference. Okay. Showing the equivalent awareness when the other is socially close is often described as your friends. You are socially close to them. So there is a difference between respect and your friendliness, and the pictures will show. Look at this friendliness. A professor to another professor can say they are friends and they say, "Hey, Bucky, got a minute?" Now this is informal, but it shows their social close distance, their friendliness. Now look at this respect, a distance between a student and a professor. Look at this respect and the selection of the vocabulary. Excuse me, Mr. Buckingham, but can I take to you for a minute? Look at this expression. Now the difference between two things, social closeness and social distance. Here it is a social distance between a student and a professor. People generally behave as if their expectations concerning their public self-image or their face wants will be respected. We all expect that we will be respected. Our self-image will be respected by others. If a speaker says something that represents a threat to another's individual's expectations regarding their self-image, it is described as face-threatening act. And on the other hand, if the speaker can say something to lessen the possible threat, if he uses indirect language, this is called face-saving act. Look at these two examples. Perhaps you could just ask him if he is going to stop soon because it's getting a bit late and people need to get asleep. Now, this is indirect language use and this is face saving act. On the other hand, the direct language, the direct use of vocabulary or the direct commanding expressions, these are face threatening act. For example, this one. I'm going to tell him to stop that awful noise right now. It is face threatening. Now, the same way, the same meaning has been expressed here indirectly. It is face saving act. Politeness showing awareness of another person's face. It is George Yule. And then face threatening act, a threat to another person's self-image. Face saving act, saying something that lessen the possible threat to another's face. Look at this is face saving act and this is face threatening act. Look at these two faces. Now again other examples. Now this is give me that. It is a direct speech act can give the impression that you have a social power over the person. It is face threatening act. Look at this face saving act. Can you give me that? The same meaning. But indirect speech act in the form of a question removes the assumption of power. Now it is face saving act. People have two faces. Negative face, the need to be independent, to have freedom of action and not to be imposed on by others. It is your individuality. You do not consider yourself a member of a group. Positive face is the need to be accepted, even liked by others, to be treated as a member of the same group and to know that his or her wants are shared by others. The examples are, look at this negative face. It is the need to be independent and free. I'm sorry to bother you. I know you are busy. It is appeal to a negative face. But now look at the same positive face. The need to be connected and a member of the group. Let's go do it together. You and I have the same problems. Appeal to the positive face. It is the likeness by others. You feel yourself as a member of the larger social group. Someone's face can be challenged in two ways, either by telling him what to do, which implies the speaker has power over him, or by showing you disagree with or do not appreciate his value or beliefs. These are face threatening. If you challenge someone's face, they will challenge you back. We use politeness with other people so that they will not attack us. We have to make a choice and provide a balance between getting a message across directly, which might challenge someone, and getting a message across indirectly, which is more polite but sometimes means the message itself is lost. Now, look at these different strategies adopted by people to avoid face-threatening acts. People can choose between a variety of expressions which show varying degrees of politeness and face-saving acts. Look at the straight command, shut the door does not respect a person's right to have control over their own body. Direct commands like this are only issued by a superior to an inferior. Giving straight commands like this can therefore be a rude or patronizing. So it is something threatening. To avoid this rudeness, politeness factors have been introduced into language. For example, you add please, shut the door please. You add hedges such as if it isn't too much trouble, can you then look at command hidden as question. Could you please shut the door? Using provisional language to imply negotiations is possible. For example, if, would, can. The number of edges or politeness factors in a request or command is in proportion to the amount that the speaker feels she or he is imposing on the listener. If it wouldn't be too much trouble, I mean, if you don't mind, I would be grateful if you'd type this letter. Therefore, seems ridiculous because there are too many politeness factors used in relation to the difficulty of the task. So keep in mind, there is a limit of your politeness. You must not be extremely polite and do not use many strategies at the same time. Look at the task. So you can say, if it is not too much trouble, can you please write a letter? Or can you please write a letter? Or I would be grateful to write a letter for me. So these strategies should be adopted logically. Then sometimes to save face and the speaker makes the request and as impersonal and indirect as possible. Like do not say I, use indirect language. If this letter was typed, I would be very grateful. A speaker can also respect a listener's value system and appreciate it by implying membership of the same in group as the listener. This can be done by following means: using the personal pronoun we and us. Let's go swimming, using the same in group vocabulary, using dialect or colloquial language when someone else does, which someone else does. Now, his language. Using pseudo agreement, which avoids saying no or disagreeing with the speaker. For example, would you like to come to my house? Well, I would love to at another time. Now, would you like, people will not answer you no. Their reply will be polite because you are being polite with them in your language. Now there is another great linguist, Robin Lekoff. They summarized politeness in three maxims. One, don't impose anything while using language, while interacting with people. Give options to people, give space to them, and make your receiver feel good. So, if you are following these three maxims, it means you are linguistically polite while interacting people. Thank you so much for listening to this lecture. I hope you would have learned things from this lecture. Thank you so much.